Hello friends, welcome back. This is Mehjabeen and today I'm going to explain Joan Murray's poem, Her Head. The basic message that the poetess tries to convey in this poem is that water is scarce in Africa and that the women living in the rural areas have to walk a long distance every day to bring home water for their domestic consumption. Now a few lines about the poetess Joan Murray. Joan Murray is an American poet. She is a writer, playwright and editor. She is chiefly popular for her narrative poems and is the author of several collections of poems. She writes in free verse and her poetry is full of images. Murray's first collection of poems was published in 1990. The title of this collection is The Same Water. Her novel in verse, Queen of the Mist, was published in 1999. Joan Murray lives in New York. Near Ekhewukhene in Natal, South Africa, a woman carries water on her head. After a year of drought, when one child in three is at risk of death, she returns from a distant well carrying water on her head. So this is the basic problem of the women living in the rural areas of Africa. This is what the poetess is trying to express. She says that near Ekhewukhene in Natal in South Africa, in this rural area, a woman carries water on her head. This is not just one woman carrying water on her head. This is the routine of all rural of all village women living in these areas, especially in Ekhewukhene in Natal. After a year of drought, so there has been a year of drought, and because of lack of rainfall, because of scarcity of rain, because of no rain, and because of this, one child in three is at risk of death. She returns from a distant well, and this South African woman, she returns from a well which is far away from her house, and she carries water on her head. So this is her daily life, this is her routine. The pumpkins are gone, so the vegetation is gone. There are no vegetables which can be seen because there is no water. The tomatoes are withered, the tomatoes have also dried up, yet the woman carries water on her head. But the woman, her job of carrying water on her head to meet the requirements of her family, that doesn't change. It goes on. The seasons might change, the pumpkins may vanish, or the tomatoes may dry up. Whatever happens, the life of this village women in Africa, the life does not change because water is always scarce. The cattle kraals are empty. So the kraals, that means the enclosure where the cattle is kept in the villages, the enclosure is empty because the cattle is it's gone. The animals are all dead. The goats gone. The goats have become very thin because of starvation, because of hunger, because of no food to eat. No milk now for children, and even the children have no milk. But she is carrying water on her head. But the woman, the village woman, she is always fulfilling her responsibilities, her domestic duties. She carries on with her life. And that's the main, carrying water from a distant place and bringing it to her house. That is the basic work, that is the main work that is required to be done out of her, and here she does not fail. She does it no matter what be the circumstance. So she is always carrying water on her head. the engineers have reversed the river. So in order to carry out some experiments, the engineers in the area, in the locality, or the engineers who have visited the village from the cities and towns, they have tried to change the course of the river in order to get some water. Those with power can keep their power, but one woman is carrying water on her head. And those people who have influence, those people who have money, they can keep their power, they can continue to have their water despite whatever the situation might be. But for these women who live in the rural areas, in the village areas, for them their life does not change for the better. But one woman is carrying water on her head. That is, one woman per household carries water on her head to meet the needs of her family. In the homelands where the dusty crowds watch the empty roads for water trucks. So crowds of people in the homeland, in the interior parts of the country, they keep waiting, they keep looking for the water trucks that would arrive. Sometimes those water trucks do arrive, but most of the times they don't arrive. But the women, they do not wait for the water trucks. Whether the water trucks come or not, the women are always out of their homes looking for water, and every morning they go out of their house looking for water, and they bring back water after some time. So one woman trusts herself with treasure and carries water on her head. So the women, they trust their own abilities, they trust their own powers, they do not trust on the powers of other people, and that the power that they have over their own self, they use that power to bring water on their heads. The sun does not dissuade her, and the woman does not get daunted by the harsh sunlight, not the dried earth that blows against her, and even the dry sands which blow against the woman. It does not dishearten her, as she carries the water on her head, and she carries on with her task of balancing water on her head in a huge and dirty pail with an idle handle. So the water is balanced on her head in an oversized bucket. It's dirty because of the exposure to outdoor elements and because of all the rough work, and with an idle handle resting on a narrow can, this woman is carrying water on her head. And in this condition, the woman carries water on her head and brings it home. This woman who girds her neck with safety pins, this one who carries water on her head, trusts her own head to bring to her people what they need now between life and death. She is carrying them water on her head. And these last few lines of the poem, they are very meaningful. These are the lines which carry the main message of the poem. This woman, so this African woman who girds her neck, so she girds her neck with safety pins. She binds her neck with safety pins. With this one who carries water on her head, and this is the woman who carries water on her head, and she trusts on her own head. She has confidence on the strength of her head, that her head will not fail her while carrying water for her own people. She trusts her own head to bring to her people what they need now, and water is the most important thing. It is the most urgent need for her people between life and death. Water is the only thing that can give them life, and if there is no water in the household, the family will meet with death. That is the only reality that she knows, and that is why she depends on her own head. She depends on the capabilities of her own head to balance all that water and carry it through a long distance. And she is carrying them water on her head, and she is carrying water for her family members on her head. This is her daily task and she does it all the time, non-stop, whatever the situation may be around her. She never fails in her duties. Well, that's all for today. Until the next time we meet, bye.